and it's all about redaction. Now, what is redaction? If you've never seen it, you've probably seen documents like this. These are the CIA documents about Area 51, or privacy documents, contracts or deeds in the movies, television, but this is real stuff and used every day in a manner of different ways. And there's also different ways to redact. There's one where you could actually add words saying deleted. At least that's the way they used to do it a long time ago. You could also do it by hand, where you literally print a document and ink it. And finally, you can use redaction in a white box with a black outline. So there's many different methods or ways to redact information. Now, the ways that PSIcapture actually utilizes, we have three. You can redact to black, you can redact to white with an outline around it, or you can redact to white with no outline. But any of these methodologies is actually, just to be clear, a burning of the redaction into the image, so that once that image is migrated over, there's no way to actually remove the redaction.
So a lot of the examples that we use for redaction or OCR process are any forms that are around, whether it's government forms, whether it's healthcare forms, legal forms, anything that you fill out for law. Maybe it's applications for a loan application, or maybe it's something like a credit application, something along those lines. But any form that today has to be filled out, whether it's electronically filled out with machine text, or possibly even with solutions that can recognize handwriting, block lettering, things like that, we can look at different solutions for you.
Opportunities. And here are the two demonstrations to show you how it works.
So I'm going to take you through a demonstration using SciGen and the PSIcapture software, and we're going to show you what it's like in a manual step process, but this can be fully done automatically, and it can be in an automated fashion. So what I'm going to do is I've got two demos canned to show you, and I'm going to show you the redaction, full redaction demonstration, which is 400A. You can see here, and these are just profiles that would run. We could monitor a folder that you might have out there where you're scanning documents from a multifunction device to like a pathway on the network, and then we can monitor those. The other option that we have is to do that from a scanner and then pull that information in. So there's a lot of different ways that we can capture that. And then last but not least, we can capture information from an email box. Maybe you have something like CMS 1450 at your healthcare company name.com or something like that, or edu or education, or what other dot whatever you have, .net or dot healthcare. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the SciGen folder, and I'm going to go to my documents, and I'm going to go to the 400A documents. This is the full redaction demo. I'm going to go ahead and start this, and again, this would be an automated fashion. You would never have to go through all these steps. It would just automatically scan everything that you put into a batch scan. You can see that I have brought in the images here, and this is a health insurance claim form. Very similar to what you're looking to accomplish here. And you can see at the top right corner, we have Social Security numbers on different forms, which have different numbers. And then you can see the 9-digit naming convention here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, I am correct there, so that's good. And then what we're going to do is we've just scanned those information. So if you had scanned from a multifunction or scanned from a scanner or monitor an email box, we pulled these in now. We pulled the attachments out of everything that you got from an email, or we scan the documents and we pull them out, and we can capture those in TIFF or PDF, whatever you want. And then what we're going to do is manually move to the next step. Again, this would be automated for you, and you wouldn't have to do this. The software would be running behind the scenes, but we wanted to give you a kind of a wizard behind the curtain look at this information. And at this point, it's indexing all the information you can see down here. So it's OCRing, creating documents that the whole document can be searchable at that point. And then it can redact any of the information. In this case, it redacted the Social Security number. And you could see in this quality assurance step here, it redacted all the information for each one of those Social Security numbers. This is the metadata over here that it knows it got. And then when it burns the image and migrates the data out, which is the last step here, what it's going to do is get rid of that information. So none of the information is searchable in the document, nor is that information viewable in a document. So anytime it goes to like a SharePoint system or something like that, it would be completely gone. You can migrate a copy out that also has partial redaction, which is what we're going to show you next. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that demonstration up real quick. And I'm going to go to the capture. And this time I'm going to choose the 401B, which is a partial redaction. And then I'm going to choose that folder that has those partial documents. You can use the same document set because it's the same thing. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and create a batch for it. And again, this is you're scanning in hundreds of documents. In this case, it's just 3. It's capturing all the images, and you can see earlier, as we pointed out up here, the information's there. We're going to move it to the next step, and again, this would be automated for you, and this would just be running in the background. And at this point, it's doing the indexing, so it's OCRing the document, and it's finding the fields. It has Smart Zone set up to look for Social Security number or whatever fields you want to capture. So if it's totals, or maybe it's the date of the procedure, maybe it's the customer name, that information all gets good, and then you redact everything else on the form, you could definitely do that. So it's just depending on what you want set up and what fields you want fully redacted, or in this case, partially redacted. Here you can see it took out the first 5 numbers and left the last 4 numbers of that 9-digit Social Security number. And then we can go down, you can look at the other examples here, and you can see it's just partially redacting everything. So at this point, we're going to close the batch. We're going to migrate the information out. It's going to complete all the steps. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a file folder of that information, which I just put this out to the desktop to make it really easy. You can see here right now at 301.31 at 11:44, which is this 11:41 I did one, and then one at 44. This is the full redaction folder. We're going to go into that information. All this information here is the data, and we can export it into a CSV. We can drop it into SharePoint, any of those fields that we extracted out of there, and move that data out. We also have the documents. So here's document 1, 2, 3 that we had. Here's the first example on it, an OCR document that we have. And if I look at that information, you can see that's fully redacted for that first document form. And then the second page is this. The second, we can create a multi-page PDF or TIFF. We can also create information where we combine these together or keep them separate like you see here. Really your choice. And so those are the other 2 documents. We're going to go back out. We're going to take a look at the partially redacted information. Here's the first form. You can see right here. Here's that information, and you can see right here it's partially redacted, so that information kept the last 4. And again, we can set this up for whatever you want and redact any fields that you want, like total to due, patient name up here, anything as far as the dates of information for the service or procedure, all those kinds of things. And then we could keep those forms or redact any of the other information that might be on a form. So that gives you some example. Now we're going to take a look at the additional video that I'm going to send to you, which is the SharePoint video. It shows that once we export this data, instead of going to file folders and naming the files, we can dump the data into SharePoint, so the actual document, and then we can also put the fields in the field mapping that is in SharePoint. So for every document that goes in there for a CMS 1450 form, we can pull out that information and put in the fields for whatever fields you want to extract. That concludes the demonstration for the redaction.